Welcome back, everybody, to the Voices for Blogging podcast. As always, I'm Steve Lee in Honolulu, and over in LA is Royce Hamano. You can find us on the Podbean app or Apple Podcasts and anywhere else you find your podcasts. You can also follow us on Instagram at Voices for Blogging. Today, we have a guest, a repeat guest. Royce, we brought in your business partner again, Ken Ye.
Yeah.
You want to bring him in?
Good to have you, Ken.
Oh, I'm glad to be here again. Thanks for inviting me back.
You're our first repeat guest.
I'm honored.
Special, yeah.
I mean, and our first guest.
Yeah.
And only guests.
Very cool.
We might need to look into that, Royce. Maybe it's time to bring some diversity in here. Huh?
We got 3 Asian guys right now.
Perfect.
Diversity.
Well, I mean, today we wanted to bring you on, Ken, because it's been pretty tumultuous in both the stock, the bond, and the crypto market. And, last time you were on the show, we had a lot of conversation about all those things and kind of how to read the tea leaves a little bit, what's going on. I mean, for those of you that haven't been watching it too close, the stock market's been pretty rough for the last week or so. People are a little concerned about interest rates going up. The color on that, though, is it's still historically very low when you have the 30-year mortgage that still hovers in that 3% level right now. And you're right. I mean, it's kind of one of those things. I mean, we saw it during the pandemic. We see what everything else in the media. Powell makes a little bit of a comment that, inflation might go up a little bit as we open. Well, no kidding. Yeah, sure, a little bit. But, the headlines make it sound like, oh, my God, it's going to be a runaway train and we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, well, I think the people were expecting basically that, Powell to come out and say, hey, we're going to do something to manage interest rates going up, right? But it didn't meet everyone's expectations and people panicked and ran for the hills, right? At least today.
Yeah, I feel like it's just an excuse to kind of do some profit taking, to be quite honest, more than anything else. It's just kind of one of those things, and rotate into reopening stocks in the stock market, which we've seen in the last 2 weeks. Tech's taking it hard. Tech's getting hit pretty hard. Shortage of semiconductors and all these other things. Huge comps. Like, I don't know how earnings season's going to be for tech. The rest of 2021, they have some big comps to kind of big shoes to fill for the money they made last year.
Yeah.
Look what happened with Zoom. Zoom showed great numbers and the stock just plummeted. I mean, I don't know what's next for Zoom. I mean, here we are. We're recording on a Zoom platform, but where does the company go from here? Those are kind of be the questions that kind of come up.
I think that's a big question. I mean, a lot of their revenue, I think, during the last year has obviously become because of the pandemic. And once that's over, are people really going to be working from home all the time? Like, I'm not as certain as some people are. But I don't know if you followed, actually. Ken, have you been watching Rocket Mortgage?
I have.
Have you seen it yesterday?
Yes, I did. It skyrocketed, then it plummeted.
It's skyrocketed, yeah.
It's a Reddit stock,
it did a GameStop. I heard that there were some people pushing that on Wall Street Bets because the number of shorts on that were pretty high, right?
Yeah, I think I agree with both of you, kind of your assessments of the market. I always look at the stock market as a giant pendulum, right? So when things are bad, they're really bad, and when things are good, they're really good. When it swings, it usually swings way past the middle, right? It swings way past where it should swing, one way or the other, right? And I think you're seeing a little bit of that on the negative side now because, interest rates, everyone knows inflation's coming. Everyone knows that prices are going to increase. They just don't know how much and for how long, right? And that's really the question is this inflation that we're going to see going to be sustained, or is it just going to be kind of a blip on the radar? Powell obviously thinks it's going to be a blip and they're going to go back down to, like pre-pandemic levels at some point because, once the pent-up demand over, prices will normalize. That's what he's saying, right? And that's why he's telling people, don't panic. We don't need to overreact. Don't be so reactive. Try to think longer term, right? And that's kind of what he's telling people to do. And I think on the other side of it is, the people like the stocks that are kind of reacting to the reopening trade, right? Because we all know that's happening. You're seeing like a lot of movement from tech to, like reopening stocks like airlines, casinos, and things like that. So those stocks are doing quite well, actually. I mean, they're not doing well because everything's getting smashed, but they're doing better comparatively than the tech stocks, which are getting smashed right now.
Tech stocks are getting killed, yeah.
Getting killed. But I think, like I said, I think it's going to swing back. It's a pendulum. It's going to swing back. What's going to be the next big thing that the market's going to react to, right? And I think that's going to be, in my opinion, the stimulus, right? The stimulus is the next thing that's on the horizon that everyone is, it's going to affect the markets because it's real money being put in people's hands that are probably going to go into the stock market or the crypto markets. There's not much you can do with money right now except to gamble it, stocks and cryptos, because you can't really go out and travel yet. I mean, things are opening up, but that doesn't mean you're traveling. That doesn't mean you're not taking precautions. And that doesn't mean that the virus is still out there. I mean, the majority of the population is still not vaccinated. It's going to be like this for a while. So when the stimulus checks get into people's hands, I think we're going to see a lot more buying, just retail buying. The retail participation will go up. And the interesting thing I also see is like the institutions kind of follow the retail trades now. They kind of go along with the retail. They used to lead, and I feel like they're following these days. A lot of these big institutions, like when you look at like GameStop, for example, right? Like the retail buyers bought that stock up. Like people on Wall Street bets were buying it up, and then the institutions piled in.
Yeah.
Right? They piled in after. They didn't start this short squeeze. They piled into it and made a lot of money, and then they exited. And I think you're seeing a lot of that as well. You're seeing a lot of retail people kind of be, they're the ones leading some of these trades, some of these trends. And you're seeing kind of Wall Street, those big institutions in the big, banks and stuff, they're like following the trades and playing the momentum. So I don't know what I'm seeing after the stimulus checks are kind of in place, but that's kind of what I see in the short to medium term.
Yeah, I mean, in the short term, I mean, every time we have these stimulus, or I mean, we've seen this a few different times with the crises, different crises we've had in the last couple of decades. Before the legislation truly gets passed, there's always a market tantrum that happens when politicians start playing their games and start making it look like we're not going to get it. And somebody pounds the table and says something outlandish, the market goes crazy for one day. And every time that's happened, it's turned out to be a buying opportunity. And so many times, you watch these times, and when the market feels this way, just like how the crypto market felt, about a week and a half ago. At some point in time, you kind of look at this and say, where do you put your foot back in? Because like you said, when this free capital comes to people's hands, it's probably just going to enter the capital market, because what else are you going to do with it unless you're going to buy a house? Because there's so many people, there's definitely people that really need this money. And if, when they get it, use it for what they need. But there's also a bunch of people that are going to get it that don't need it.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about $1,400 per person and child time, right?
Exactly.
Before it was 1,200 per adult and 500 per child. Now it's 1,400 per adult and 1,400 per child. So a family of 5 is getting like $7,000, whereas a family of 5 before were, what is that? 24 plus 50, like, getting $4,000, right? So, you're getting a lot more money this time, and that money is going in. Some of it's going to the market, whether it's the crypto and the stock market. So
100%.
So I think you're going to see, a rise because of all that money. Because we saw what happened when they gave the $1,200 stimulus checks back in,
Right.
last year around this time, right? And or a little past this time. But yeah, I mean, last year they did that, and the markets exploded higher. You're going to see a similar effect here. People aren't going to save it. You're not earning any interest in the stock market. I mean, in the banks, you're not giving you any interest right now. So where do you put it? Unless you need that money, you are putting it into the market, right?
Yep.
And we're going to see I think we're going to see markets keep going up after the stimulus is passed. And, I think it's going to be interesting because, like, where does the market go from there? That's more interesting questions. Like, once that stimulus money is gone, where do people put their money? When do they start cashing out? Right.
Well, the next earnings season, to be quite honest, because the tech stocks have no chance. There's no way. There's no way they're going to continue to show the growth they showed last year, especially on the hardware side and the companies that were behind PCs. We're not going to see that same bump in sales, and I don't think we're going to see continued growth in that category. And you're going to see a lot of companies like the Zooms, that are very pandemic specific. I mean, where's the innovation now in this space? But one of the things that Royce and I talked about, then we want to get your opinion on, is, now that we see a lot more Wall Street institutions in crypto, you kind of see this dynamic where the crypto market and the stock market are kind of hand in hand now. They, with the bigger institutions into this thing, they're starting to help move some of the markets in the crypto side also. What do you think
I
about
totally
that?
agree with that. I totally agree. I think, when you see markets do, like the stock markets go up, you also see the crypto markets go up.
Correct.
They used to be kind of decoupled, but I don't.
100%.
Yeah, now it's very much You know, the one interesting thing I want to point out, kind of, along those lines is, we talked about the Grayscale Point Fund and the Grayscale Ethereum Fund,
Yep. Yep.
and I think the last couple days there used to be, prior to that, there used to be a premium, so you're paying a little bit more money to
Mm-hmm.
get, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the net asset value,
Mm-hmm.
you're getting a better, you're paying a little bit more to buy those stocks versus
Mm-hmm.
the underlying asset values, but that's
Mm-hmm.
turned negative the last couple days.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
And
it
that's really
has.
interesting,
It
because
has.
if you buy a GPTC today, you're getting it at a discount if you buy it
Yes, you
through the
are.
fund
Yes,
versus
you
if you're
are.
buying it directly at an exchange. So,
Right.
now unfortunately there's no way to do arbitrage on that,
Nope.
because you can't actually take the money, like Grayscale doesn't allow you to redeem your Bitcoins out of the GPTC fund.
No.
So,
No.
you're kind of stuck with the stock. But if they ever allow that, then you'll see more of the gap will definitely narrow.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to see that, because, like, kind of to your point, how the markets are kind of affecting the crypto markets as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely, you could see that, right? You could see
Mm-hmm.
people are dumping their stocks, but
Mm-hmm.
what happens to cryptos? Like now, now you got a negative premium on
Mm-hmm.
these Grayscale funds, and it's
Right.
never happened before. I can't
Never.
remember it
Yeah.
ever
They turn
happening.
they turned down at the same time. Today, the market turned down exactly at the same time in both the crypto market and the stock market.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So
Yeah. I think if you want to bet on BTC and it's a good time if you want to buy an ETF to buy like a Grayscale, GBTC or Ethy right now.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think with the institutions being in now, kind of like you were saying, it definitely follows the market more Monday to Friday. Where it's interesting to me is on the weekend when there's very little liquidity, but it's not really institutions that are doing the trading then. Like moving the
Mm-hmm.
market then is kind of more like retail sentiment, right? That's kind of
Mm-hmm.
interesting. But I think that's a result of crypto just being a 24/7 trade and not Monday through Friday, right? Like
Right. And
Yeah.
it's more accessible, and people are getting more comfortable with the ideas about it. You start to hear it more. You sniff around. It's in the newspaper. Federal government's trying to figure out what to do with it. People are making comments about it. And like that article, the report that came out a couple of days ago about the U.S. thinking of making their own digitized dollar. I'm like, that's exactly opposite of what crypto is about. So it probably doesn't affect the Bitcoin, the Ethereum market, but that's mainstream still trying to figure out what's going on, what to make, two craps about what this market's about.
we have so many digitized dollars already. Coins. Like, I don't think we need
Right.
another one, but I get why they would want to do that.
Sure.
And that's
It's a control. It's about control.
right?
It's all about
Right.
controlling
Yeah,
money.
for sure. Yeah.
Right. But it's been fun. It's been interesting. Royce, are you kind of still in that Ethereum trade where when you kind of went to a lot of cash in the last couple of weeks, and then you started buying back a little bit last week? How's that trade going for you?
It was a lot better like a few hours ago.
About an hour, right? About an hour ago before it went down.
Back when it was fighting above 16, it was great. It was a great trade.
Right.
Now it's not as great, but it's still okay.
Royce, the funny thing is, like, the last time I was on the show, I think Ethereum was $300, $400. What was it? It was pretty low, right?
It
I mean,
was
relative to where it is now.
yeah.
It was probably at the 600 level. Would be my
600?
guess around. Yeah, it was probably around there because it was
So
our fifth. It was our fifth podcast, I believe, or was it our fifth
So the reason
episode?
why you're on the show now, though, is to have the exact same effect that you did last time. So we're counting on you,
I
man.
wish,
We're counting on you.
I wish I were that powerful and I could do that. But yeah, but thanks for the vote of confidence there. Yeah, I mean, it's tripled, right? It's basically almost tripled since the last time I was on the show, and
Oh my God!
uh,
I mean,
I don't
No,
take any
you're
credit
right.
for that, by the way. But
I'm
but
gonna take that back. I'm looking at the chart now on my screens. 435.
it's
So that
435. All right, so like,
that's about where I entered the market. That's right about when my Gemini account kind of allowed me to start buying things, for
so
the first time.
you more than tripled your money. Congratulations.
Yeah, man.
that's
At
awesome.
one point in time, it was quintupled. I mean, it was fantastic.
Quintuple, that's great. Um, yeah, no, it's because, like, back then, I think Royce and I were both pretty confident that because at
Yes.
$435, we both felt like, okay, there's a lot of room to move up.
Right.
And now here we are, 6 months later, do we still feel the same way? and about where Ethereum is going and where it's headed. And honestly, I still believe that the market hasn't reached its top. And I don't know if Royce will agree with me on that, but I definitely feel like there is still room to move. There's still a lot of institutions that want to get in,
Mhm.
and I don't think that there's as much retail participation in cryptos as people think. I think the people that recently got into cryptos probably got in through like Robinhood and maybe
Mhm.
bought some Dogecoin or bought some XRP because Wall Street Bets said, "Hey, buy those coins." But
Right.
they don't really understand cryptos. They just bought because, they want to make some money and they think it's going to go up, but they don't really understand what they're buying or what the rationale is for buying it. Like there's no investment thesis there. They're just following other people, right?
Right.
And they're following them to a bad trade because Dogecoin's a joke. There's no real value
It was
behind some of
literally a
these
joke.
coins. It
It
was a
literally
joke, but
was a
they said it
joke.
themselves.
Yeah,
They
it's
said it
literally a
themselves.
joke.
It was a dog coin they called Dogecoin, and it's not a real legitimate coin. It's
I
just a joke
yeah.
that someone came up with, and it got people. It became a meme, and now it's a meme coin. And but the investment thesis behind Bitcoin is totally different. And I feel like some of those people, hopefully, who got introduced to cryptos, will understand that as they get more experience and knowledge into the space, they'll start putting their money into like the right places in crypto, not coins like Dogecoin or XRP. That's my hope, at least. So for the new entrants, this is kind of like, okay, you got it's good to get your foot in the door, but now that your foot's in the door, it's a lot easier. Now that you got your Coinbase account or your Robinhood account to trade cryptos, now here's your next task is to kind of level up, right? Start understanding other cryptos, what they do, and then maybe buy some of those, right? Put some of your portfolio into those coins. I think that has yet to happen. And I think that'll be responsible for the next move up is when some of those people like who recently got in really understand what they're getting into and understand the potential of some of these new projects and new
Right.
coins that are coming out.
Correct. Correct. Well, I mean, that's why Royce and I try our best, in the last few shows to kind of point out the DeFi market, talk about DeFi a little bit, talk about stable coins and what role they might play, especially with the regulations that pass. I mean, it's amazing because since the last time you've been on, the landscape has changed quite a bit. It's such a different. I mean, there's so much more substance in some ways to the market. If you can sift through some of the bullshit like Dogecoin was or is.
Right.
You know
Yeah.
about Dogecoin though. Like I want to say that I read today that I think it was Elon Musk is pushing to allow like Dogecoin to be used for like payments for maybe Tesla or something. I read something like that. I don't remember if it was exactly him or it was someone else, but
Right. Because he's doing it for Bitcoin already. He made the announcement he's going to accept Bitcoin for Teslas.
yeah,
But he's an opportunist, right? So if he can
Yeah.
find a way where he can make a quick buck on somebody, he's going to do it
Mm.
100%.
I mean some of these things is about community too, right? If there's a community of people that are gonna use Dogecoin, go ahead.
Well,
It can't.
some of these companies that are getting into Bitcoin, I mean, they're, the thing I think, and this is just my opinion, the thing is, if you look at every company that has decided to change the direction of a company towards Bitcoin, for example, MicroStrategies and Overstock, Tesla,
Mhm.
Square, Circle
PayPal.
Pay, and
PayPal just got
PayPal.
into it. Yep.
If you look at every single one of those companies, they all benefited from a move to Bitcoin. Every single
Right.
one of those stocks
Yep.
are worth more money now because they decided to allocate or to invest or to decide to participate in cryptocurrencies. None of them.
MicroStrategy is the one. MicroStrategy is the one that sticks out the most. I mean, that stock from when they first started buying Bitcoin to its high, you're talking about a 700-point run. The stock was at 300 and it topped out at over 1,000.
But think
That's
about this, right? If you look at
amazing.
every company that dipped their toes into
Yep.
cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin went up in value, is worth
Right.
more money today
For
than
sure.
before they did that. Don't you think other companies are looking at that and going, wait a minute, shouldn't I be doing that? And I think
I
that's what I see with a lot of these, like when we talk about institutions getting in, that's
Yep.
what I see, right?
Yep.
They're these other guys who are all like aware of, they understand cryptos, they know what it is, they've seen it, like Visa, MasterCard. I'm sure those guys are all looking at cryptos and going, wait a minute, these guys are all making gazillion dollars from, some, getting into Bitcoin. It doesn't matter when they got in. They got in and
Yep.
they're making more money. They're worth more
Yep.
money.
Yep.
Why aren't we in it? Why aren't we putting some percentage of our portfolio into this, right? Because everyone else is making huge bucks here and we're being left out, right? And I think a lot of people will probably, because of the successes of these kind of early companies got into Bitcoin or to cryptocurrencies. These other bigger companies are slower to get in, but I think they will, because they're looking at every single person that got in, and every single person's benefited, right? I mean, literally every company has benefited. Every single one literally has become more valuable. And that is huge. If you're a company, it almost becomes irresponsible for you not to at least pay attention to it, right? All your competitors, I mean, or not all your, but like your competitors doing this, they're making more money. They're making big bucks. Like Overstock completely changed their business model, right? And look where they are now. They're worth, so much more money than when they were just doing retail stuff, right?
Right.
I think you have to look something outside of having cash, because the dollar with inflation is not going to be as valuable, like as something, as another asset. I think the challenge with going in all in, or like spending a significant amount and putting it into Bitcoin right now is just that it's so volatile. And I think that's the challenge for these companies. But I think they're going to have to make that bet. They're going to have to make that bet on crypto. I think at some point, it's just a matter of when.
Yeah, I think they have to. I mean, like I said, all this big money is going in. It's a limited pie, right? Because there's only so much Bitcoin out there in the world, ever, right? So you've got a limited amount of pie, and everyone has to, if they want a piece of it, it's time to stake your claim, right? And some people have, and have big chunks of it. So I think it's just a matter of time, and there's big investors getting into it now. There's like funds getting into it now. There's like Paul Tudor Jones got into it. I mean, there's big people that are into this that are not just companies, but also hedge fund investors. And I don't think this is the top, and that's kind of why I say it, is because I think I look at all these other Fortune 500 companies that could be invested in Bitcoin. They're not. Every single one of these companies could have some percentage of their portfolios in Bitcoin, and they're choosing not to right now. And it's a domino effect.
Yeah, so actually that brings up another good point. So like, a lot of these companies right now are getting into Bitcoin. I think one of the challenges that Ethereum has, as far as becoming, one of these investments for these companies or just institutions in general, is that the amount of coins outstanding continues to grow every year in Ethereum, whereas in Bitcoin it's well known, right? Because there's a hard cap of 21 million. And I've heard from in a number of different places, basically, that one of the things that is challenging for Ethereum is that people that want to get into it, the supply is a little bit unknown. But I think one of the big things that's going to change that, and which is a big push for July, right, is EIP 1559, where they're going to be basically burning the transaction fee for any Ethereum transaction. That should put a deflationary pressure on Ethereum, which is going to help with that. And I think that makes Ethereum a much more attractive investment at that point, and maybe enables it to be bought up more by these institutions that are buying Bitcoin now too.
I think the transaction fees is also a big part of that, right? Because by with that EIP 1559, it's going to lower transaction fees for Ethereum transactions, and I think that's going to make it more usable, because right now there's a lot of congestion in the network because of the high fees.
Yeah, so it's actually interesting. So not only does it provide basically a base fee that can help you get your transaction through and help you understand what you need to pay to reliably get your transaction through, but it actually also allows the block size to grow as well based on demand.
Yes, right. Yes, exactly.
It's cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
It's, I hear that there's a hard fork that's coming out in Ethereum in April called Berlin, and I think it's in the middle of April. It's being scheduled. It's already scheduled, so it's already kind of penciled in for middle of April. So they already have a block height on that block number for that hard fork. But the next hard fork after Berlin is called London, and like you said, Royce, it's going to be in July, probably in July. I don't think they have an actual date yet. But EIP 1559 is scheduled tentatively to be in that hard fork.
Yeah, and so it has to be in July because of the difficulty bomb.
Yeah. So it's very likely it'll be in there.
There's gonna be a release in July.
Okay. Wait. I gotta jump in here now. So you guys threw out two things. First of all, there's a hard fork. I mean, I could go so many ways with that. And and then you said there's a difficulty bomb. Can you at some point find a way to kind of explain that to the audience? One of you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wait, Royce, I'll take the. How about you? You take the difficulty bomb. I'll take the hard fork.
All right.
So the hard fork is really just a software upgrade. So there's a hard fork and a soft fork, right? A soft fork is a change in the network or change in the software that doesn't require, it's backwards compatible, right? So you don't have to change your software; things will still work. So if you have a Ethereum node running You don't have to do anything, it'll still run. A hard fork is where a software upgrade is required. So if you have a node running on a version that was before the hard fork, it will not be compatible with the new version after the hard fork. So basically, you have to upgrade your software to the new software after the hard fork in order for things to run.
And who
So
benefits from that? Who benefits from the upgrade?
everyone, the network, all the users. I mean, the changes that are being proposed are beneficial for the entire network. So
Right.
so basically the miners are, they have to switch their mining software to run to communicate with the new upgraded nodes.
Does
So
that cost them anything?
it doesn't. It doesn't. It just, I guess the cost will be just manpower. I mean, they have to probably download the new software and run it. Like if you're a miner, you have to probably upgrade your mining software to run on the hard, the new version. The same with if you're running a node, you have to upgrade your node to download the new node software and then run the hard fork, the new version, the forked version. So the problem, there are dangers with that, of course. With any hard fork, there's always a chance that there's a split in the chain. So you could, if half the people decide they don't want to upgrade
Mhm.
and half the people upgrade, then you've got two chains, right? So that's where it gets kind of confusing. This actually happened once with Ethereum, right? Right, Royce? The Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. So
Yeah.
Ethereum Classic forked, so there was a fork, and some people chose not to run the upgraded software, and some of them did, and so Ethereum continued, and then there was Ethereum Classic. So that's what happened with a kind of a split in the chain. So that's
So
happened once before.
to
It's
kind of
very
summarize
unlikely.
it for me, is it a buying opportunity for people? Buying
No,
coins?
I don't think the chances of a chain split is very likely here. I think most people in the community are very on board with the changes that are being made.
Mm-hmm.
You have a contentious fork whenever there's like changes that people don't agree with. So if
Right.
half the people don't agree with the changes that you want to make
Right.
to the network and you fork, then you
Right.
might have a chain split, like the Ethereum Classic example, right?
But
But
if everyone's involved, though, is that going to be a buying opportunity for people? Like, why does that matter to the everyday person?
um,
The
it,
hard fork.
so the hard fork matters because it depends on what's in it. So like I think the Berlin fork there's some like quality of life change. I don't know. I don't have an exact list of all the different EIPs that are going into that particular hard fork, but I do know that those have been vetted by the Ethereum community, and I'm sure they're all very thoroughly tested. I don't think
Right.
there's going to be a problem with the Berlin fork. It doesn't seem like it from
Right.
all the dev calls I listened to. The one that's more consequential is going to be the one in July, right? The London
Mm-hmm.
fork where the EIP 1559 comes in, because that's a very material change to the way the network operates and the way the fees are
Mm-hmm.
structured.
It's a
So
a big change to economics.
But
yeah,
in the end, though, will that lead to an appreciation in the price of the coins and the
yes, I think
currencies?
July. I think the one in July will definitely have an impact on the price. That's my belief at least.
I think the folks that are running Ethereum, like the devs will tell you that they don't control price and they're not doing it for the price. Basically, they're doing it for the usability of the network.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have deflationary pressure on the coin, in theory, it should create more value for the rest of the coins. So that's
Mm-hmm.
the thinking, at least.
Yeah, I think the Berlin fork that's happening in April might not move the Ethereum markets much. I mean, it might move it a little bit. I mean, it'll probably be I think a net positive, in terms of the price of Ethereum. But I think the more like consequential upgrade is going to be the hard fork in July. And because of, like Royce was saying, the changes in fee structure and the economics of the coin is going to be affected pretty drastically. I think you're going to see speculation from people that believe this benefit is going to cause an increase in price, and then you're going to have people who just interact more with the network, right? They're going to pay less money to make transactions happen. The changes that are being made, I think, with that EIP will decrease inflation, which will decrease selling pressure from miners, right? Because miners are not going to get as much money anymore. They're probably going to make actually we're mining. Royce and I are mining, and
Mm-hmm.
I know we're anticipating a pretty big drop in our mining revenues from EIP 1559, right,
Mm-hmm.
Royce?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it might be somewhere around like 30%, somewhere around
That's
there.
a lot, right? I mean, think
Significant
about
amount. Yeah, it's a significant amount.
when 30% less sell pressure from miners is a very significant amount of sell pressure.
It's interesting because there was a call talking about all of the concerns around EIP 1559, and basically one of the things that people are saying as far as pushing through EIP 1559 is that the revenue that'll be lost by miners with the change. It's anticipated that some of that will be made up by the increase in MEV for like all these DeFi and arbitrage opportunities, the arbitrage bots and stuff that are out there, because those are the ones right now that are helping to bid up the price of gas, actually, running these transactions. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, I don't think anybody really knows for sure 100%, but it's definitely coming.
So what was Ethereum 2.0? Was that a soft fork, hard fork? And do you guys think that upgrade or that change in Ethereum is partly what's behind the move up in Ethereum?
I think Ethereum, I was saying that Ethereum 2.0 is, I mean, it's a completely new, it's not just a fork. It's a network upgrade that fundamentally changes Ethereum's consensus protocol from proof of work to proof of stake. There's actually 2 coins today, right? You've got Ethereum 1.0 coins and you've got Ethereum 2.0 coins. So there's going to be a migration from Ethereum 1 to 2, where Ethereum 1 coins will basically just be a shard on Ethereum 2's network. So that's going to happen. That's called, I think it's in phase 1.5 that's going to happen, where the networks are going to kind of merge in a way, in this way. It's a very fundamental change in how things are. Like right now, it's blockchain is kind of inefficient, right? Like the way that it does, the way that confirmations are done and the consensus is done, very inefficient. Takes a lot of computing power. With proof of stake, it's going to be much more efficient. It's not, it's just going to be, it's a totally different algorithm, right? To decide consensus, and it'll increase the transactions per second by quite a bit. Instead of like, I don't know, what's Ethereum at? Like, is it 7 transactions per second or something like that? It's going to be like, orders of magnitude higher. So you're going to have a much more efficient, much faster network once this is done. So that's going to improve the overall value, I think, of Ethereum whenever that happens. But the problem with that is just it's going to be, I think it's still a couple of years away. So in the meantime, you've got all this growth in DeFi. DeFi is not going to wait around for Ethereum 2.0 to be done. So things like EIP 11559 is extremely important. It's actually more important than even the 2.0 upgrade, because it affects us now, right? And it's going to affect us in a few months. So for people who are if you've been in the crypto space, that time operates a little bit differently in the crypto space. Like a day in crypto is like a week in the real world. Things move so quickly. And
it's at least 4 days on Wall Street. One day in trading in crypto is 4 days on Wall Street. So when you get a week in crypto, I joke like that's a month of trading, and it's funny when you look at it that way. Like it totally makes the moves don't seem as big, even though of course they feel big. But you put it in perspective, you're like, nah.
Yeah, and that's why like the EIP 5059 is so much so big of a deal right now, because it's coming. It's months away, not years away, right? And even though 2 years doesn't sound like a lot in crypto, that's an eternity, right? That's a long time to wait.
It is. So Royce, difficulty bomb, man. You can't just mention something like that and just let it go.
Yeah, definitely. So like it helps to give a little bit of background on kind of mining and what we do. So basically every miner out there is trying to solve like a puzzle, say like a cryptographic puzzle or something. And what happens is that when you solve this puzzle, you get to commit the next block in the blockchain, right? A set of transactions in the block and attached to the blockchain, and you get rewarded for that. And so that's kind of the basics of how mining works. And the protocol can actually adjust the difficulty on that puzzle that these miners are solving, so that they can solve blocks quicker or they can solve blocks slower, right? And that kind of basically speeds up or slows down the transactions that are processed, on Ethereum. And so what this difficulty bomb is basically that once it gets to a certain block height, which is basically a certain number of blocks in the Ethereum chain, it's going to ratchet up the difficulty so that the problem that these miners have to solve is going to be basically, close to impossible. It's going to slow the chain down so much to solve this problem that, you're frozen basically. And I think the original reason why they had this in there was because that was a point when they were going to move to proof of stake. Basically, they've had these difficulty bombs and they've been pushing it off every time that we've had them. They've extended it out so that they remove the difficulty bomb and they put it back to the normal difficulty, for another set of like, months and so on and so forth. So the latest one is going to happen in July. And so there needs to be a hard fork to address that before that, because obviously we're not going to be moving to proof of stake in July for Ethereum at this point. So they're going to push it out probably another few months after that too as well. And then, we might go through the same thing again, or eventually at some point we're going to move to proof of stake.
Well, I just wanted to make sure we clarify that because, I didn't want, I know we have a listener that, listens to this while he or she sits on the toilet at night. So I didn't want to make it sound like,
TMI,
difficulty bomb was like some kind of, constipation, kind of incontinence kind of issue. Who knows? I just want to make sure that they knew. And the other thing is I want to make sure our audience is still awake after listening to all our mumbo jumbo for the first 20 minutes that we started with. So on that note, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's have a little fun with some everyday stuff. Royce and I were talking about this the last time we were on, or last couple of times talking on, as vaccinations go up, and we're just kind of in this weird sweet spot where there's been so many people that have had COVID in the last 6 months, and you combine that with people vaccinations, you kind of have this time where infections are down, and it kind of makes you feel hopeful that you can get out and get going and do things. What are some things you're looking forward to doing potentially in 2021 if things continue to go this way?
Oh,
Wow, that's a loaded question, man. Wow.
That's why I asked.
What are you planning to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so hard for me to even envision that because we've been in this lockdown for quite a while now. It's like I almost don't want to go there because I don't want to get my hopes up. Maybe that's just the kind of person I am. I kind of don't want I'm not saying I'm a pessimist, but I've been in this kind of gloomy cloud over my head for the last year. It's hard for me to make any plans. I don't want to make any plans. I think is what I'm trying to say. I don't want to make any plans until I know for sure I can, like, imagine telling my kids like, hey, we're going to go to Hawaii towards the end of the year and on a vacation because that's where we're going to go before the pandemic hit. And if I told them that and we are still like, there's a, God forbid, there's a, another strain of COVID that comes out that evades the vaccine, how am I going to explain that to my kids, right? Like, I made all these plans to do things and I can't do them anymore, or I made all these promises to my kids or to my wife that I can't fulfill. It's even worse than not having that at all, right? So like, I'd rather just not even like, I feel like I've become so pessimistic now about it.
It is. It's a challenge. I mean, it's an absolute challenge, and the only thing that can help in those situations, a little perspective, and as of now, the vaccine and the variants, it's been an okay thing that the Moderna and Pfizer supposedly are monitoring the thing and can make adjustments because of how they develop the vaccine pretty quick to create boosters if a variant gets a little out of control. But it is a challenge, man. I mean, I don't think you're the only one that's feeling that way. This lid we've been holding on down tight for the last year. At some point in time, there's hell to pay for that. Whether it's emotionally, whether it's just our physical being, whatever it is. I mean, it's been an interesting and tough existence the last 12 months.
I was telling Royce that this kind of trending more on the dark side, but I feel like I've snapped. Like, there's some part of me that already snapped, right? And I just don't know it because I'm in a lockdown and I can't really process what snapped because I don't really know anymore because I've been locked down in this place forever, like in a house, basically trapped in my house for so long. I'm grateful the fact that my family is healthy and we're not, I mean, sure, it's inconvenient to not go out and stuff, but it's been a year. I feel like some part of me already snapped, but I probably won't know for sure what snapped until things are open and I'm out like looking around, like, without a mask. And
that's going to be a while. The without a mask part's going to be a while. That if we're lucky, that's the end of this year. Like the without a mask thing, I don't know.
I think I won't know what snap until that day it happens when I can actually do that.
Yeah.
And then I can let myself go and go, oh my goodness, like, okay, now I know what snapped and I could go kind of crazy and let it all out, like, but honestly, I have to say, like, in terms of my psyche, and sorry, Royce, I'm kind of, hogging up the time here.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
People are tired of listening to Royce anyway.
It's hard for me to kind of put into words, but just like, I don't feel like I come out of this the same, you know? I don't know, like I've been through, it's like people have been in this lockdown or, they're seeing loved ones pass away, they're seeing tragedy hit,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I'm
It's,
gonna come out as the same. I don't know
I don't
yet
think
because it's kind
I
of like,
don't think it's possible.
yeah,
I
like
don't
you've
think
been in
that's
shock,
possible.
right? Let's say
Yep.
you're in shock and you're going through shock, but you don't know how bad the damage is. It's kind of like what I'm feeling right now. I'm
Hmm.
still in the shock moment where I don't really
Yep.
know how bad this lockdown or this tragedy that hit our world is
Yep.
until it's over, right? Until it's
Royce,
over and I can feel something again.
how are you different, Royce, because of the pandemic?
How am I different?
What part of you has changed for good?
What part of me has changed for good?
Yeah.
I think I think my time more for sure. I think I value the people that I'm around or my friends and family more. We've been sitting around basically for the past year.
Hmm.
We haven't really been able to do too much. I think I need to take Ken out golfing just so he gets out.
No,
Uh,
drinking,
boy,
not golfing,
boy,
drinking.
Or
boy
drinking
needs
or whatever.
boy needs an outlet, man. Boy sounding a little
Yeah,
dark over there, man.
Forget golf, dude. We gotta go drinking. We're gonna get drunk. What are you talking
yeah.
about,
You
man?
can drink beers when you play golf too. You don't have to. But yeah, I think that's the biggest change for me is just that, like I haven't been to Hawaii in a year and a half, probably, I think.
Yep.
I haven't seen my dad, I haven't seen my sister or my nephew
Hmm.
or my brother-in-law, or my friends actually. So it's I think that's the biggest change for me is that I think you see what's been more like the most important thing as opposed to just, grinding it out or whatever, at least from my perspective.
What about you, Steve?
Yeah,
What's
Steve.
different? Yeah, it's interesting because of my line of work, a lot of my daily life really hasn't changed. Because for me, because of our what I do for work, like we didn't really ever close. The operations were altered a little, but we didn't really close. We went in, I saw patients, and just not in the volume we would normally see them. I was talking with one of my patients last night actually about this, and we're talking about how there's going to be so many people that when this starts to all ease up, some of the emotions you're probably unconsciously just keeping tamped down, it's going to rear its ugly head. It's going to pop up and it's going to hit you in ways like you were saying. It's just going to hit you in a weird way one day. You'd be like, should this be happening? Like, is this really happening? Do I really want to take this mask off? Reinserting into society. I think it's gonna be interesting. You see the states like Alabama, Texas, and those guys. They're planning sometime in April to take away their mask mandates, and they're gonna try to force the issue, which is essentially what they did last year. Sometime near the summer. So I don't know. I guess we'll really see. We'll wait and see. I mean, I'm not fully in your boat, Ken. I mean, there's obviously always gonna be a wait and see approach because obviously last year taught you something. You just don't know.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
That actually reminds me of one other thing that's changed about me is that once everything does open, like here or wherever,
Yep.
I am going to be like out every single day. Whether it's at the movie theater, at a restaurant, at a bar, whatever it
Oh,
is, I'm going to be out for
yeah,
sure.
I think so too. Yeah, I mean, you guys are both clearly more optimistic about it than I am. I mean, maybe because I have young kids at home, and so, when I see stuff like my youngest he's, turning 3. He's not 3 yet, but like he hasn't like he hasn't really seen people. So when like one day he saw the gardener come to our house, and he from the window he's waving at him, going, "Hi, hi, look, it's a human being." Like
Social interaction. Everyone needs it.
like he's waving at the
Everyone
gardener, going,
needs
"Oh,
it.
look, it's a person," and it's just
Wow.
like, what? Oh my goodness, it's so sad, right? He thinks like the entire Earth is composed of 5 people, which is his family, right? And
Yep.
there's no one else.
Yep.
Like when he sees another
Yep.
person,
It's like being in a
it,
zombie movie, man. You guys can hold up
it's like
all year long.
he hasn't seen anyone because since he was 2 years old, like he was, didn't really, like now he just thinks that this is the world, and it's so sad, right?
Oh,
Like
that's
this
It
yeah,
whole,
is.
that's bad, man.
It is. And hopefully, the process of life of some sort of normalcy kind of kicks in over time there for you guys. I don't know what you guys' restrictions are locally, but we look at like preschools have been open here for a while, and so the kids. I go to pick up my son every day at preschool, and like they don't care that they're wearing a mask. They could give a rip. They're just wearing
oh
it.
wow,
It doesn't
wow,
bother them. They're playing. They're having a good time. So
wow,
that's what we were talking about in the pre-show. Where you guys are kind of venting a little bit about how things are going in California, like there is a lot of evidence out there that says, with the younger kids, for whatever reason, the transmission isn't very high. I mean, you would think, right? We see look at kids as like they're like the bacteria bombs, right? They're the people that are going to get us sick all the time, right? But I don't know. It's been fascinating to see the differences per region. Of course, the infection rate where you are can influence, how everything plays out. But to your note about Hawaii, my advice to you is come now.
Wow,
Don't wait,
really?
come now.
Why? Why now?
Because
Why?
our numbers are low as heck here. As long as you guys are infected, come down and enjoy it
Yeah,
before
but
it
are
gets
you
too
guys
crowded.
really counting? Are you guys really counting?
It's pretty low. It's pretty
All
low.
right.
And as far as our numbers of vaccinations, they've administered 300,000 vaccinations in the state so far,
Wow,
and
that's a lot.
that's significant.
And how
And I
many?
think
How many
that's
people-
individual shots still. I don't think that's 300,000 people, but on this island alone, on this island, you're about 1 million people,
And the state
That's
population now
that's
is
a
like
lot.
1.6 now or something, or
somewhere around there.
yeah.
Yeah. So I got to look into that article because yeah, like Royce is alluding to, of course, how much do we trust all these numbers that are thrown at us? But I do remember reading about a week and a half ago that we're in the 6 digits as far as how many people have been fully vaccinated, myself included. And those type of things. So it's come now before it gets crowded. It's just
Interesting.
one of those things.
Yep. Hey, how's
Didn't
Hanuma Bay, man? I heard it's clearing up.
So Hanama Bay, the reef is apparently stunning again because there isn't as many tourists to trample on it. They closed it down for several months, and so we don't have the bad sunscreen in the water, all this kind of things. So now they reopened it, but they're limiting the amount of people that can visit a day, and they raised the price. To me, it's like raise the price higher.
Yeah. Don't give out food either, or whatever. Like,
Yeah, they don't do
oh
that. They
man.
stopped doing that over a decade ago, where you're not allowed to feed the fish anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, raise the price higher. The place is beautiful. Like
Yeah. It was,
that way
man,
you get fewer people going there.
I went there in 2018, I think, and before that, I hadn't been back there since I was a kid. Probably.
Hmm.
It was so sad. Like
Wow.
the water was murky. Like the
Yep.
coral was black.
Yep.
It was like
Yep.
before you would walk in the water and you'd have like
Yep.
tons of fish swimming around you,
Yep.
swimming up to
Yep.
you, like brushing your leg. When I
Yep.
went back in 2018, I mean it was a dump. Like there was
Right.
hardly any fish, nothing. Like it was so sad. But yeah, I hope it returns to the way it was.
I mean, try to look at some of the news reports from Hanama Bay in the last probably 6 months, and they actually have some video footage of what the reef looks like now.
Yeah.
It looks like it looked like a long time ago. Like
Wow.
You guys should go there. If you go to Hawaii, you should go there now while it's like looks good.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, just there's tourists in Waikiki, but it's not a whole bunch.
Yeah.
The numbers for the hotel came back. I want to say the vacancy in Waikiki, the occupancy rate was somewhere about 30%. So
Wow.
even so, we have an increase in people here, but we're nowhere near what we usually hold.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to Vegas, actually, from what I hear. Like Vegas has been pretty empty. They're actually starting to like actually a lot of the MGM properties, like Mirage and stuff like that. They actually just started open 24/7 now.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that gives me some hope when I'm hearing this stuff. I mean, if there's any good that came out of it, is just that our environment probably got a lot better because of lesser pollution and
You guys saw that, right? You guys saw that in LA, didn't you?
a little
Yeah,
bit. I mean,
with the air like, in the beginning of the
Yeah.
pandemic, like when people
Yeah.
were driving and everything.
Literally everyone was at home.
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean everyone's out now. Like people are driving nuts, like on the freeway and
Yeah.
stuff. But
Traffic is back. Yes.
traffic's back.
yeah,
People are
it's
driving
back.
like crazy. I think because
Yeah.
they've been cooped up for so long.
Yeah.
There's so many bad accidents and car chases every night, and like
Yeah,
LA is healing.
yeah.
Is it really healing though?
Hey,
Not really.
every night I turn on the TV, there's a new car chase, so I'm assuming that's healing.
Oh, normalcy.
Oh, by the way, for the record, I think Royce and I both want to get out of California. I mean, we're both just so tired of it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's I think we were talking about that before the show,
Yep.
and I think you listened to a little bit of that, but we were just griping about how things have changed so much in California now that we almost don't recognize the state.
Yeah.
I think he and I both are relatively moderate people. We're not
Right, one or
conservative
the
or
other.
liberals,
Correct.
but looking just kind of like the policies that are initiated in the state, the high taxes, the
Mhm.
soft on crime kind of, it's so sad now, like being a resident here
Mhm.
and seeing how the communities have changed,
Right.
makes us want to move. Like we
No,
both want to move to Vegas.
I have other friends that feel the same way. You guys are definitely not alone, and that's not the first time I've heard that opinion.
It's gonna be tough.
I lived there for a while, and there's a reason why I didn't stay.
It's gonna be tough for California to recover. I think. I don't even know how they begin to do it. Like it's fallen so far now. Like just in homeless and crime and taxes and everything. Like
Right.
I don't know. I don't know where they even start.
Yeah, I mean the homeless problem is clearly a big one. Then you got the crime, like just a combination of different things, right? I mean the infrastructure's falling apart, a lot of pollution. It's like for a state that's supposed to be like advocating all these social policies, and like we're not doing a very good job of preaching, doing what we preach. We're like one of the probably worst states in terms of how we handle our money and how we use our tax money, right? We're very inefficient. We're very efficient with how we spend our tax money, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, we're again one of the probably the highest tax state in the whole country, yet we have problems with balancing our budget.
That's
It's so
Hawaii,
sad.
baby.
And
Highest
infrastructure's still
taxes,
falling
baby.
apart, right? I mean, we have things falling apart here. You got a huge homeless problem, yet we have the highest taxes, the biggest wealth gap, and lots of crime. Like where do what do you do?
Yeah.
Like where's that money going?
Hey, did you just say Hawaii has high taxes?
No, we just get taxed on absolutely every single thing.
Right.
There is no exemption to what is taxed. So in California, there's no taxes on services.
Yeah, that's right.
There's taxes here. We get taxed on everything.
Wow.
Ours is a general excise tax, so it's on everything.
Are you guys taxed on tip too?
No, tips separate.
Oh, okay, all right, that's good.
But like shipping gets taxed.
Wow.
Well, it can be. So let me rephrase that. So it's really screwy. So if I bring in equipment, it's beneficial for me to embed the shipping cost into the price of the unit, because otherwise I got to pay the sales tax as the reseller on the shipping, because the buyer is not responsible for it. The only way I can make the buyer responsible for it is to delete it as a line item and embed it into the price. It's a screwy thing that happens in our sales tax here. It drives me nuts.
Weird.
Yeah, but it just happens. It's just a weird thing.
Well, your sales tax is like 4%, right? And like
but again, no exemption. Everything is taxed. Doctor visits are taxed. Everything's taxed. Hospital bills taxed. Everything's taxed.
Oh, really? 4%?
At 4.712 in Honolulu.
That's 4.7 now.
Because of the rail. Because of the rail that we'll never ride on. Like maybe when I'm 80, I'll take a spin on that thing.
Don't we have that same thing in California? We have a high-speed rail thing that.
I'll tell you this, dude. The rail that they built, like out in Santa Monica and stuff, got built way faster than the rail in Hawaii ever will.
Ever.
Are you sure about that though? Because
no, Ken, this is Hawaii.
Yeah, I'm pretty
nothing happens fast here, man.
I'm pretty sure they started the rail here later, and obviously they finished sooner. Like I'm pretty sure, because the rail.
What about that bullet train to Vegas? Are we supposed to have a bullet train going to Vegas? Like they start that like 10 years ago?
Build one, but they want to build it from Victorville to Vegas.
Oh, okay.
Who's going to drive out to Victorville and ride?
Who's going to go to Victorville, go to Vegas? What?
Dude, it's all about It's all about the Hyperloop, man. If they can get the Hyperloop going without killing people, that's going to be the thing.
They're trying to build that to Dodger Stadium, right? I think right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what they're doing? And then in Vegas, they're trying to build it also as well. I think from the airport to like the Strip or to like the stadium and stuff. I think. But I think Elon Musk is doing all of that.
Is he? He was one. Well, he was looking into it. I think he kind of backed off of it a little bit. But there's I think when I was reading about it, there are about 5 or 6 different groups that are trying to develop the Hyperloop system.
Yeah. Well, don't worry, Ken. That train to Vegas, that'll never be built in our lifetime, I think, dude.
But you know what's going to Vegas, Royce?
What?
You and I in September in a rental car.
If you want to go out in September.
All right, you might tag along, dude.
Yeah.
You know,
hell yes.
Get away from we can go the family for a little trip.
Sit at the blackjack table, dude.
That sounds like fun.
Hell yes.
We'll be vaccinated by then.
we're gonna do a show from Vegas too. You know, it's gonna be a live betting show. So we're gonna be cussing as we're recording
That's great.
because we're
Great.
gonna be betting and losing and winning all at the same time.
Just
Yeah.
don't let him
Sounds
bring
like a lot
it
of fun.
over.
Oh,
Sounds
well,
like
hey man, Ken, this was great having you on the show. Appreciate you having you again.
Oh,
Hopefully
great
you're
having
willing to come back and expose your knowledge and share your knowledge and your opinions, and hopefully we can help you with that dark cloud a little bit, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I'd love being on the show, man. You guys are great. You know, just anytime you want me back, just let me know.
We just need you to drive up the price of Ethereum and the whole crypto market again. So
Oh, you know what? 3x, man. That's all I can do this time, right? I can't do 4x. I can't do the quadruple,
Hey,
that Steve was talking about.
We'll settle for 3x. That's fine.
3x
Yeah, I'm
is all
okay
I
with
can do,
that.
right?
We're just going for the Kanye effect, you know. This is all we're doing. We're just gonna have you on every few months.
The next time I'm on, it'll be when it 3x's, all right? And then we can talk about that a little bit. All right.
We're gonna hold you to that. We're gonna hold you to that.
Or I might just never be on the show again. Whichever comes first.
But seriously, if you decide to come to Hawaii, let me know, man. I'll hook up with you.
Oh, great. Hey, thanks, man. I might pick you up on an offer because I might go there probably end of the year. We'll
Yeah,
see.
you're definitely gonna be out there, man.
I'll definitely be out there. I have a villa all set up there. I just can't go there because the pandemic. But
Which where are you at? On Oahu or Maui?
Oahu. I have it's near that
Marriott?
Turtle Bay area,
You're North Shore,
Turtle Bay
like
Resort.
I think, right?
Yeah, it's near the Turtle Bay Resort.
You have those villas over there.
Yeah, I got one of those villas reserved. So it was supposed to be a yearly family trip, but got cut short by the pandemic, so we didn't do it.
Oh, you know what? You on that note of come now, the hotel's closed.
Whoa, wow.
So right now, if you go and stay in the villa, there ain't nobody there.
Wow, that's tempting. That's really tempting.
So and you're gonna be isolated because you're out in the North Shore. You know, the golf course is open. They're taking care of the golf courses. Palmer's open there. And that practice facility they set up there, the new practice facility, is gorgeous.
Wow, I'm gonna have to
The
look into
hotel
that.
is closed though.
Wow,
They're gonna be close to like July.
interesting.
Wow.
But the parking lot,
That's
they
interesting.
opened up the parking lots because they're trying to bribe people to allow them to develop more on the shoreline, right? Which everyone's doing this to them, right?
Yeah.
But they're just trying to play nice. But the villas, people are still staying in villas because those are privately owned.
Yeah, they're privately owned, right?
Right. So there's a bunch of people that own them here that are trying to rent them to Kamainas, locals like us, for some pretty good rates. So we were actually looking at probably renting one of those out because those things are beautiful.
Yeah, they're nice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
They're nice.
Wow, interesting. Well, I'm gonna have to maybe look into that because it would be nice to go.
Rethink your plans, man. No one's here.
Yeah.
Like seriously, wait till after spring break because there are going to be idiots that come during spring break and just be dumb. Wait till after that and come.
Yeah. All right. Well, good. Thanks for the tip.
All right, Royce, let's wrap this up. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope we kept you awake. And if you're sitting on a toilet right now, you might want to get up. You want no anal fissures. With that, we'll have a good night, guys, and we're signing off. See you later.
See you guys next week.
See ya.